Welcome to Quiz Cues. This is amazing. Are you ready to play Cluephoria? Today we're playing the 4th edition of Who Am I? Guess the 21 modern-era icons from just 3 clues. Clues are revealed one by one. After the last clue, the answer is revealed. Question 1 is on its way. If you like these quizzes and want to see more, please subscribe. It encourages me to continuously create new content for your enjoyment. Thank you. Are you ready? Let's go! Who am I? I once staged an entire war with toy soldiers and filmed it on my family's 8mm camera. I was a storyteller whose creations became the most popular entertainments of my generation. I won 2 Oscars for directing films about the Holocaust and the beaches of Normandy. Steven Spielberg. He is the iconic director who dominated Hollywood from the 1970s onward and staged elaborate war battles with toy soldiers on his family's 8mm camera as a child. He won Academy Awards for directing Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan, and he co-founded the DreamWorks studio with Jeffrey Katzenberg and David Geffen in 1994. Who am I? I lost my mother as a teenager, and years later she appeared to me in a dream with words of comfort. I am left-handed and had to restring my instrument upside down to play it properly. I wrote the most covered song to this day. Paul McCartney. He is a legendary musician who played for the Beatles in the 1960s. His mother, Mary, died of breast cancer when he was 14. At age 26, she appeared to him in a dream, with the inspiration resulting in 1970s anthem, Let It Be. He learned to play bass guitar upside down because he is left-handed, and he wrote Yesterday, the most covered song in history with more than 2,000 recorded versions. Who am I? My father flooded our backyard every winter so I could practice on ice before I ever saw a classroom. I was a competitor whose vision and passing rewrote the strategy of my entire sport. I am the only player whose number was retired across every team in my entire league. Wayne Gretzky. He was the legendary Canadian athlete who dominated professional hockey from the late 1970s through the 1990s and learned to skate on a backyard rink his father built in Brantford, Ontario. His number 99 was retired across all National Hockey League teams in 2000, and he remains the league's all-time leading scorer with 2,857 career points. Who am I? A coconut shell carried a message that saved my life and my crew during a dark night at sea. I was a political leader who inspired a generation with youthful energy and calls to service. I am the only president ever to have won a Pulitzer Prize. John F. Kennedy. He was the 35th president who led the nation from 1961 to 1963 and carved a rescue message onto a coconut shell after his patrol boat was destroyed in the Solomon Islands during World War II. He is the only president to win a Pulitzer Prize, awarded in 1957 for his book Profiles in Courage. Who am I? A sudden illness in my 30s left me unable to walk on my own, yet I stood before crowds who never saw my chair. I led my nation through a depressing time and a great war. I am the only person ever elected 4 times to lead my country. Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was the 32nd president who concealed his paralysis from the public after polio struck him at age 39. He led the United States from 1933 to 1945 through the Great Depression and World War II, and his 4 terms make him the only U.S. president to serve more than 2 terms. Who am I? My father won 3 gold medals rowing on the river before I ever stepped in front of a camera. I was an actress whose cool elegance captivated audiences during the golden age of Hollywood. My wedding required 40 priests, 600 guests, and was watched by 30 million people on live TV. Grace Kelly. She was the luminous actress who starred in 1950s Hollywood before her life took a fairy tale turn, and her father, John B. Kelly Sr., won 3 Olympic gold medals for rowing on the Schuylkill River in Philadelphia. She married Prince Rainier III of Monaco in 1956 in a ceremony broadcast to millions, and she never acted again after becoming Princess of Monaco. Who am I? My father once sent me to a police station with a note asking them to lock me in a cell for 5 minutes. I was a filmmaker whose shadowy silhouette became as famous as any actor I ever directed. I appeared in brief silent cameos in every single one of my own films for over 50 years. Alfred Hitchcock. He was the legendary filmmaker who dominated cinema from the silent era through the 1980s, and being locked in a police cell for 5 minutes as a child sparked a lifelong fascination with guilt that defined his suspense films. He made a brief cameo in every one of his own feature films, beginning with The Lodger in 1927, and his TV series Alfred Hitchcock Presents ran for 10 seasons from 1955 to 1965. Who am I? My grandfather won the Nobel Prize for unlocking the mysteries of the atom. I was a singer and actress whose chart-topping success stretched across 3 continents. My music video for a fitness anthem was too physical for some networks to air. Olivia Newton-John. She was the Australian-born superstar who dominated pop music and film from the 1970s through the 2010s and was the granddaughter of Nobel Prize-winning physicist Max Born. Her 1981 music video for Physical was banned by some television stations for its suggestive content, and she became one of the best-selling recording artists of all time with more than 100 million albums sold. Who am I? A childhood fight over a girl left me with one eye that looked permanently startled. I was a performer who reinvented my appearance and sound so completely that fans barely recognize me from one decade to the next. I played the Goblin King in a beloved fantasy film filled with Jim Henson's puppets. David Bowie. He was the visionary performer who transformed popular music from the 1970s until his death in 2016 and suffered a permanently dilated pupil after a fistfight with his best friend at age 15. He played Jareth the Goblin King in the 1986 fantasy film Labyrinth, and he was the first major mainstream artist to release a downloadable single in 1996. Who am I? My older brother won an Olympic silver medal running on the same track as Jesse Owens. I was an athlete whose courage forced my sport to confront its deepest prejudice. I am the only player whose number was retired across every team in my entire league. Jackie Robinson. He was the trailblazing athlete who broke Major League Baseball's color barrier as its first black player in 1947. His older brother Mac came in second to Jesse Owens in the 200-meter dash at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. His number 42 was retired across all of Major League Baseball in 1997 on the 50th anniversary of his debut to honor his courage in breaking the sport's color barrier. Who am I? I taught myself to play the piano by ear in my father's church, never taking a single lesson. I was the voice of a generation for civil rights and women's empowerment. I was the first woman ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Aretha Franklin. She was the legendary singer who dominated popular music from the 1960s until her death in 2018 and learned piano by ear as a child in her father C.L. Franklin's New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit. She became the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987, and her version of Otis Redding's Respect became an anthem for both civil rights and women's liberation. Who am I? I was expelled from a strict military academy for fighting with the older boys. I was a performer whose raw intensity changed how stories were told on screen. I sent a proxy to refuse my industry's highest honor on live television in protest. Marlon Brando. He was the revolutionary actor who dominated film from the 1950s through the 1970s and was expelled from military school for insubordination before finding his calling on stage. He sent Native American activist Sachin Littlefeather to refuse his 1972 Academy Award for The Godfather in protest of Hollywood's treatment of indigenous people. Who am I? I abandoned the name my parents gave me and borrowed one from a poet I admired. I was a singer-songwriter whose lyrics became anthems for a generation seeking change. I am the only musician ever awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. Bob Dylan. He was the legendary singer-songwriter who transformed American music from the 1960s onward, changing his name from Zimmerman to Dylan, borrowed from the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. He won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature for creating new poetic expressions within the American song tradition. Who am I? I trained as a mechanic and drove military trucks during the greatest war of my century. I was the head of state for a nation whose empire once circled the globe. I was the first of my line to mark 70 years on the throne with a platinum celebration. Queen Elizabeth II. She was the longest-reigning British monarch who sat on the throne from 1952 to 2022 and trained as a mechanic and driver in the Auxiliary Territorial Service during World War II. She was the first British monarch to celebrate a platinum jubilee in 2022, and she met with 13 United States presidents during her 70-year reign. Who am I? I was the last of 14 children in a French-speaking family where music filled every room. I was a vocalist whose power and precision made me a permanent fixture in the entertainment capital of the desert. I won Europe's biggest song contest at age 20, though I was representing a country I had never lived in. Celine Dion. She is the Canadian superstar who has dominated popular music from the 1980s onward and was the youngest of 14 children in a musical family in Charlemagne, Quebec. She won the Eurovision Song Contest in 1988, representing Switzerland with Don't Leave Without Me at age 20, and she held a record-breaking Las Vegas residency that ran for over 15 years. Who am I? I was orphaned at 10 and raised by a strict grandmother who sent me to a finishing school in England. I was a political figure who championed human rights and represented my nation on the world stage. I chaired the commission that drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Eleanor Roosevelt. She was the transformative political figure who became the most active woman in American government from 1933 to 1945 and was raised by her grandmother after being orphaned at a young age. She chaired the United Nations Commission that drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, and she held her own press conferences at the White House decades before any woman in her position had done so. Who am I? I scandalized polite society by wearing trousers when every other woman was expected to wear a skirt. I was a leading lady whose sharp wit and athletic grace changed how women were portrayed on screen. I won my industry's highest acting honor 4 times, yet I never once appeared in person to accept it. Katharine Hepburn. She was the legendary actress who dominated Hollywood from the 1930s through the 1980s and scandalized studio bosses by insisting on wearing trousers both on set and off. She won a record 4 Academy Awards for Best Actress, yet she never once appeared at the ceremonies to collect them. Who am I? I lost my 2 closest friends in the trenches of the greatest war, and their absence haunted everything I created. I was a scholar who invented entire languages and mythologies that became the foundation of a modern literary genre. I crafted more than a dozen complete tongues with their own grammars and alphabets before I ever told my most famous story. J.R.R. Tolkien. He was the visionary author and philologist who transformed fantasy literature from the 1930s through the 1970s and lost his two best friends in the Battle of the Somme during World War I. He constructed more than a dozen fully realized languages, including Quenya and Sindarin, before writing The Lord of the Rings, and he served on the faculty of Oxford University for nearly 40 years. Who am I? A youthful fight left me with a distinctive scar above my lip that cameras loved. I was a leading man whose tough guy persona captivated audiences for 2 decades. I won my only Oscar playing a gin-soaked riverboat captain alongside a legendary British actress in Africa. Humphrey Bogart. He was the iconic film star who dominated Hollywood from the 1930s until his death in 1957 and carried a small scar above his lip from a childhood brawl. He won his sole Academy Award for The African Queen in 1951 opposite Katharine Hepburn, and he married his co-star Loring Bacall in 1945 after falling in love on the set of To Have and Have Not. Who am I? I was sent to live with brothers in a strict school after my parents could no longer handle my wild ways. I was an athlete whose fame made me the most recognizable face in America during the Roaring '20s. I began my career striking out batters for Boston before I ever became famous for hitting home runs in New York. Babe Ruth. He was the legendary baseball player who dominated the 1920s and 1930s and was raised by monks at St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys in Baltimore after his parents sent him away. He began his career as a dominant left-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox before becoming an iconic home run hitter with the New York Yankees, where he became the first player to hit 60 home runs in a single season in 1927. Who am I? My grandfather suffered in a labor camp under a tyrant who ruled before I was born. I was a world leader who tried to reform an empire that had stood for nearly 70 years. I won the world's highest peace prize, while my own nation was literally coming apart at the seams. Mikhail Gorbachev. He was the final leader of the Soviet Union who served from 1985 to 1991 and watched his grandfather suffer under Stalin's collectivization policies in a labor camp. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990 as the Soviet Union began to dissolve, and he remains the only Soviet leader to have been born after the Russian Revolution of 1917. Did you keep track of your score? Post it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you liked and disliked. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for playing Cluephoria. See you in the next game.